Welcome, Totem Nation. It's Lambo's for the Sports, presented by Sideline Sports Network. Bright and early in the morning, we're going to be talking about college football. Now, I've talked about Georgia possibly repeating to go to the national championship, but also, they might not win it as well because college football is unpredictable. So today I'll be talking about the top three teams that can beat the University of Georgia. Now Georgia's a number two. Georgia is number one in the rankings in the AP poll that I mentioned in my previous video. You go ahead and watch that. But also I'm going to tell you something. Georgia was undefeated last year and won a championship. Then the year before in 2021 they beat Alabama. They were 14-1 that year. They only lost to Alabama in the SEC championship game. So in the past 2 years, Georgia Bulldogs are 29-1. 29-1 with 25 draft picks and all that other stuff. They lost their quarterback. They still have the best tight end in the game. But there's three teams that can beat Georgia. Number one, University of Alabama. So Alabama with Nick Saban, the very dominant defense. And to all the people that bet and gamble, betting on Alabama, going against Alabama is bad for business. It's bad for business. It's just you don't go against Nick Saban. Alabama's getting into the only concern I have for Alabama. The defense is great. They change coaches all the time. Bill O'Brien left as the offensive coordinator. He's with the Patriots. They got a new offensive coordinator. So Tommy Rees is the new offensive coordinator for Alabama this year. He came from the University of Notre Dame. He was a long-time quarterbacks coach, OC, and whatnot. He's the new offensive coordinator for the University of Alabama. Um, the struggles that I have a problem with is Alabama is weak at the wide receiver position this year. They don't have Jameson Williams or whatnot. So their wide receiver core is weak this year, and we're still trying to figure out as of now who their quarterback's going to be. What's the quarterback battle for the University of Alabama? You got Jalen Milroe, you got Ty Simpson, and you got the Notre Dame transfer and Ty Buckner, who are competing for a starting job to replace Bryce Young. Um, to replace Bryce Young, who's with the Carolina Panthers and won the starting job. Um, you know, Jalen Monroe is in his third season with Alabama. Simpson is entering his second, and then Buckner transferred from Notre Dame in the all season. But Buckner has a lot of experience. I'm not sure who's going to win the quarterback battle, so it all depends on the quarterback situation for Alabama and the wide receiver core. The offensive line is great. The defense is going to be great. But my only concern for Alabama is the weakness of the wide receiver core after losing wide receivers to go to the NFL and whatnot. So Alabama will be that team to beat, you know, Georgia. Um, and that's going to be my take on it. Um, number two, I'm going to take Michigan. Now, I know it's not conference. I didn't say conference. I'm not picking teams in conference to beat Georgia. But Michigan has a chance to beat Alabama. Michigan is returning all starters. J.J. McCarthy, you got Blake Corum. By the way, Jim Harbaugh is not being suspended for 4 games. I think the committee is going to put that situation in the shovel until 2024. So along those lines, everybody's coming back. Michigan has a really easy schedule this year. The first 4 games is real easy. They were 12-1 last year. They lost. Their first loss was against TCU. Horned Frogs. There's nobody expecting TCU to even get to the championship game last year. They beat Ohio State 2 years in a row. Um, they have potential. I think Michigan is really a team that everybody needs to watch out for. They're ranked number 2, right behind Georgia. So I think Michigan will easily win all their games. I think Michigan will easily beat Ohio State for the 3rd year in a row. Because I'm not sure who Ohio State's quarterback situation is going to be as well. They lost C.J. Stroud to the Houston Texans. So Michigan is that chance. Michigan has good wide receivers. Michigan is very aggressive for the offensive line, very good defense. Michigan is a team that can you can throw the ball with bubble screens or you can grind and pound. Michigan football is a team that's going to win the line of scrimmage. So Michigan will be that team that can possibly beat Georgia as well. We'll see how that goes. So I'm going to pick, Alabama and Michigan or my two. My number 3 team, In my head, number 3 team. Now I know who it is, but I want to make sure I'm realistic. I'm not sure if it's Tennessee or LSU. Now, wait a second. I'm gonna pause you, and I'm just messing around here. I'm gonna pause you. I'm gonna pause you. I'm messing around here. I don't think neither Tennessee or LSU have a chance to beat Georgia. Here's why. Here's why. Joe Milton is coming back. Tennessee last year was 11-2. They lost to South Carolina and whatnot. So they went to the Orange Bowl. They smacked Clemson around. Joe Milton's a good quarterback. They lost their quarterback to the NFL. It's a different season. They got different wide receivers as well. I think Jalen Hyatt went to the NFL as well. So then they got some mixture going on with the offensive line. The Tennessee defense isn't as strong as the LSU defense as well. So it's going to be very hard for me to pick Tennessee to beat Georgia. I know despite last year, it was different. The quarterback was hurt. But I'm going to be real honest to get the answer out. I don't think Tennessee can beat Georgia. And I think there's only going to be 2 teams that can beat Georgia, which is Alabama and Michigan. Tennessee, it does not have the ability to beat Georgia. I feel like Tennessee and their stress of the schedule, whoever they play, they might win most of their games. If they play Alabama on their schedule again, I don't see them beating Alabama again this year. I don't see them beating Georgia. I think Georgia has a very, very, very good, legit defense, and I think Tennessee struggle along those lines. And I think they'll struggle again this year as well because they're not going to throw the ball all on Georgia like they did on Clemson. That's 2 different defenses. And the reason why I'm not picking LSU to win it because I'm not – Brian Kelly is a good coach. He was successful at Notre Dame for a very, very, very long time. But the quarterback, Jaden Daniels, he's very good, very consistent. It's just going to come down to closing out games. It comes down to closing out games, and I think last year they went 9-4. There's some games they should have won. There's games they got blown out by Tennessee. They lost to Florida State. They beat Alabama. They got smacked by Georgia. I don't think LSU is ready enough to beat Georgia this year. They competed in the SEC championship last year, but I don't think LSU is ready to beat Georgia. So this video is going to change. 2 teams that can only beat the University of Georgia, which is Alabama and Michigan. That is the hottest take that's going to surprise everybody in the whole wide world. Yes, there is no top 3 teams that can beat Georgia. It's only going to be 2. Alabama and the University of Michigan. So that states the video. I state my facts on why LSU is not a strong enough team to beat them. LSU was ranked too high in the poll, talking about some number 5. That was ranked way over Tennessee. LSU at number 5, Tennessee at number 12. Tennessee's a better football team than LSU. But as far as Tennessee, how's their quarterback going to look? Joe Milton's good, but can he play that good for a whole entire season? They lost wide receivers as well. Tennessee isn't really that strong consistently on defense. I'm not very impressed when I see the Tennessee defense. I might be drinking something or I'm just speaking facts. So Tennessee and LSU are not the teams to beat Georgia. The only 2 teams is Michigan and Alabama. So Totem Pro Nation, Lambo's World of Sports, presented to you by Silent Sports Network. I predict the future, and there's only 2 teams that can beat the University of Georgia. The Alabama Roll Tide and the Michigan Wolverines. We'll be catching you later on, and do not be surprised if those teams are in the college football playoff once again.